once son of old. A wordsmith tells the tales of old. Goblins, ghouls, and facts most foul. Welcome ye to Church Jams Now.
Church Jams Now.
Ooh. So moody.
It's the most spooktacular time of the year.
Guys, I changed my mind. Can I go home now? I'm
No!
scared.
You can never go home.
I need to call my mom to come pick me up. Can I borrow your parents' phone?
Nope. You are stuck here forever. Welcome to Church Jams Now. That's not a really spooky. It's like there's no way to make
Church Jams. Spooky.
Church Jams Now sound scary.
Well, hey.
Jams No.
See, that just
You
sounds
could
like you're
add-
constipated.
You could add what's in my cauldron of spook over here, Kylan.
Oh,
What's in your cauldron of spook? Hold on, real quick before we get to that. Welcome to Church Jams Now, the podcast where three former youth group kids and current spooky nerds deep dive into Christian music from the 90s and 2000s. I, of course, am your co-host, Kylan Savage. And with me, as always, bubbling up a cauldron of spook, is Mr. TJ Smith.
Feeling very haunted this evening, gentlemen. I've got a bat's wing and Dracula's larynx and some clove ginger whiskey.
That
and
sounds
some
pretty
bitters. Yeah, it's a great cocktail.
good. Did you just get back from Southeast Portland?
Transylvania's
Yep,
Farmers
exactly.
Market.
Yep. Foraged the ingredients myself.
Also with us is creepy producer Josh.
Hello.
Ooh. That had some dimensionality to it.
I just made an entrance too that only you guys could see.
I
That
know.
panned.
But no, this will go on the TikTok.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Oh man, guys, I love Halloween and spooky season and scary things so
Yeah,
much
you do.
more than you would anticipate for the host of a 90s and 2000s CCM podcast. I think by
that's-
the time this airs, right, the For Him episode, is that the one right before this?
Oh yeah.
I didn't realize
really,
that sequencing.
really setting the tone for
we
our
love to talk
Halloween
about
season.
sequencing.
Yeah, for real. Guys, we also have a guest, a returning spooky man.
Did you
Probably
workshop
the-
any
probably
of this?
in real life, the least spookiest person I know, though.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm spooky.
Guys, we have Joe Cutler. He was here for the our first Norma Jean episode, for the As Cities Burn wrap-up episode, for our Mailing and the Sons of Disaster episode. So this is currently putting him in the top place as our most returning... God, I can't talk. Our most returning guest? How do you say that?
Yeah,
Our
recurring character.
Yeah.
He's been a guest and
I'm
a
always
host,
here.
So
That's true.
I'm
He has
like
never
Leprechaun.
left.
I'm always back.
He has never left. Joe, what's up, buddy?
Hey,
Getting off to a
I-
wild start.
I'm also spooky. Rah! I mean, boo.
Rah! It's like a cheerleader. Rah rah, shish kumbah.
Oh, man. Okay. For all of our listeners, I hope you're having a spooktacular Halloween season. So last year for Halloween, if you have not listened, go back and listen to our Halloween episode. We talked about A Boy Witch's Invitation by Carmen, which
did
is
we.
one of my favorite episodes of all time. We kind of broke format a little bit to just talk about one specific song and its subsequent music video.
Oh,
it's a
it was
long
so
form
fun.
song, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it
That
worked.
was one of my favorite episodes of
It
all
was
time.
great.
To follow it up for this Halloween, what did we decide to do, guys?
Well, Kylan, a long time ago, I think, it may have been even last year that you suggested and / put dibs.
It was
on
November
covering-
1st.
I'm sure it was.
You waited at least
Halloween,
until
and you're like,
the
I have
day
our
after
next
Halloween.
idea ready.
Honestly, no, I think it was in the same recording as The Witch's Invitation.
It probably was, but you
that feels
picked
right.
to cover the Zombie EP by The Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah. How do we feel about that, guys? Is it spooky enough?
Eat human flesh.
I
That's
think
how
we'll
I
get
feel.
into it, but zombies are pretty spooky.
Zombies
Yeah,
That's
I
a
mean,
Halloween
I got
staple.
bit by my neighbor, so
Wait,
we'll see how
wait
this
a
goes.
minute.
That's
Hold
not a
on.
zombie thing. That's just
What
a
I'm trying to
Nebraska
say
thing. That's
is
just a
Pause
I'm a
Nebraska.
Nebraska
zombie
thing.
now, and I'm the expert. So
What state of like turning into one are you? Are you like fully,
I'm at
or
that.
are you like
I'm at that
you're-
hidden level where I just hide it. I go,
No
"It's
one
not-
knows yet.
It's nothing. I don't let my group know, so I'm the problem.
It
I'm the one
happened to
that's like-
be somewhere you could hide it really easily, like under your
Exactly.
shirt sleeve. Yeah.
I would say my gut,
Oh man,
just like a just huge.
a gaping wound.
Like it looks like a shark got me. That's where
Zombie shark. That's a great idea, guys.
zombie shark.
Yep.
Okay, so Joe, we don't need to know your origin story because plenty of people have heard it. So should we just dive right in,
Start
guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Okay, Josh, do you want to give us a little context? This is our first time covering The Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah.
It
Who
is.
who is the devil and why is the devil wearing Prada, Josh?
Well, they've got a pretty high fashion sense, I believe, from what I gather. There's been a lot of media coverage on it. There's been a book. There's been a movie. There's
true.
been a band. So, it seems to be a really important
know.
thing.
What next, a
that everyone
podcast?
needs to know.
Yeah, probably.
A podcast talking about it. So, I hope that answers your question, teacher.
Thanks. That clears it all up. Appreciate you.
Okay, so the Zombie EP first came out now. All right, tell us more about it.
All right, so The Devil Wears Prada is originally from Dayton, Ohio. Their career is from 2005 to present. At the time of the Zombie EP, they had all original members at this point. The members are Mike Haranica on lead vocals, Jeremy DePoister on rhythm guitar and vocals. They are currently the only two remaining members still in the band.
Oh, wow. I
But
didn't
they're
know
the
that.
vocalists, so if you're going to have any two people, it makes sense to be them.
Right.
Can I ask a quick question, Josh, before we go on to the other members?
Go for it.
I'm wondering, as someone who is not super familiar with The Devil Wears Prada, which one, is it Jeremy or Mike, that's doing all the really clean, soaring, high vocals? Can you
Jeremy
clarify that
is
for me?
doing the
That's
cleans.
Jeremy. Thank
Yep.
you so much. Cool. That I've been wondering that this whole time.
Yep,
So
it is him.
you really helped me there. Thank you. Continue.
Happy to help. Yep. Chris Ruby is on lead guitar. James Bainey is on keyboards, synthesizers, and programming. Andy Trick is on bass, which that's a pretty good spooky name for Halloween.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
Andy Trick.
Yeah.
He's giving us
Who
some
is our
tricks
other
and some treats
guitarist?
on
Yeah.
here.
Mike Treats on auxiliary percussion.
And Daniel Williams on drums.
Nice.
Zombie EP was released, and it is just Zombie EP. It is not. There's no article preceding
Right.
it
And it's
on my CD copy that I have
Oh,
that I purchased
Look at him flexing.
on the day of release on August 24th of 2010. So at this time,
Nice,
it is
nice.
13 years old. I remember this and the Showdown's Blood in the Gears came out on the same day because I went to Best Buy and picked them both up on the same day.
This wasn't too spooky for you?
No, I've been a longtime Prada fan before this came out, bro. This is their first EP. They've previously released 3/4 LPs. They re-recorded their first one. And then concept EPs have kind of been a thing that they've continued in certain capacities. This was released on Ferret Music, which they were on for their first couple of records. It was produced, mixed, and mastered by Joey Sturgis, who did the first couple Prada stuff. He's done Before Their Eyes, Burden of a Day, Attack Attack, Asking Alexandria, so very big in like that kind of scene and sound.
Nice.
This debuted on Billboard 200 on number 10, surprisingly.
Oh, wow.
I thought that was very high for
That is-
an EP as well.
wait,
Yeah.
wait, what was the release date again?
August 24th.
Oh,
So
weird.
2010.
So weird. The Zombie EP is one of my favorite EPs of all time.
obviously.
And it came out in August.
Now, do you think it's because like this was the era of like zombies were trending like super hard,
Yeah, yeah.
and so
Oh,
they're
yeah,
just
they
like
were.
put it out whenever. Just The Walking Dead's doing his thing.
Yes.
What was the other one? World War Z was out.
Yeah, I was looking. I saw an interview that Mike Ranica said that they watched Zombieland, and that's kind of what kickstarted the idea. They're like, "Oh, we should do a zombie EP." But then I read that like this was. I'm sure Kylan can provide some wonderful context of all the other zombie stuff that was happening around this time. But this EP came out 2 months before The Walking Dead premiered.
Right.
So like it was like zombie was everywhere. Zombie stuff.
It was a hot topic.
It was.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. I mean, 2009, 2010. But this was like right before I feel like we became oversaturated with zombies.
Yes.
Because zombies kind of had their heyday. Again, they had like a resurgence, and then it got way oversaturated, and then everyone was sick of
it's just
zombies.
too much.
And they're still trying to do The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
They have, like, 2 spin-off
oversaturation has informed how I'm coming to this EP, because I did not, have the history that maybe y'all have with this band. So
You thought it was like a cash in with everything else going on.
I knew that it was like still right, like in the middle of like that zeitgeisty moment for zombie like content. But for me, it's hard to separate all of the the retreads that I've been through.
Well, can I admit
many
something
times.
right now? I have never until today, I have never had any fucking clue what any of the lyrics on this entire EPR, and I do not care. It's like this is 1,000% vibe guy, and we'll get into it as we get into the
100%.
record.
Okay,
Which
cool.
is funny to me, if I may say, because I was a big Prada fan, and like we've talked about before, kind of, I think you were kind of over that whenever Prada stopped being like real, like kind of low budget metal.
Yeah, I want to get into this a little bit.
Yeah. So I'm surprised that, because I remember you loved this instantly. You were always jamming to it, but I feel like it's not like a scary record. Like it just sounds like heavy Prada, but without like knowing any lyrics. I'm surprised that you loved it so much. I thought you would have loved it more because of all the zombie lyrics.
No, I had no idea what, besides the find your walls, build your shelter, or whatever, maintain protection. That's like
That
the
was
only
it?
lyrics I know.
That's great.
He's like chainsaw, sweet.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We'll get into that when we get into the record. So yeah, can I just briefly tell you guys why this has been a wish list for me?
Let's go.
Okay. First off, I bought this, Joe, when we were living together in Arlington. I bought this on vinyl. And
Joe's
I don't
waving
know
at Kylan.
That was
He
so
has a
cute.
mic.
To see it.
And he waves.
That was so cute.
So I had this on vinyl. Remember, we used to listen to it on vinyl
you
and,
did?
and do the Snoopy dance. Yeah,
yeah,
And
yeah.
The vinyl came with the graphic novel, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
had that. Nice.
And I sold it because I was a dummy.
How dare you?
I sold it to like half price books for like no money, which we've talked about before on previous
It's a
episodes.
pattern in your life.
No, it was like a single 2-month period where like I didn't have a job, and so I was just like very slowly selling off everything that I loved, and then got a job and couldn't buy it back because half price books jacked up the prices. I am a big spooky movie guy, as you guys know. This is literally my favorite time of the year, and I love zombie movies. I do want to ask you guys, Joe, I know you're like on my level in terms of horror movies. And then TJ, I think you're like, I don't think you consume as much horror content, but you're willing to give it a shot if there's something interesting story-wise, or like if they're like, if it's like maybe a little more like highbrow.
Yep.
I feel like
that's fair.
like
It's
yeah.
It's pigeonholing me, but it's so accurate. So
Right,
I can't
yeah,
even be mad about it. But no, like case in point, The Menu, right? We both like
Right. Yeah,
really
yeah.
enjoyed that movie. That was a recent one that kind of blew my mind, and that's kind of heady horror,
Right.
and I love it. So
I do too.
Yeah.
But I also love the like your
Super campy
Frankenhookers
stuff.
and
The
your
pulpy stuff,
your
yeah.
trick or treats and your
Right.
slumber party massacres and what have
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
You know, Josh, I don't fully know where you land on horror movies.
I'm a little weird because I love Halloween and spooky season and all that stuff, but I do not like horror movies because I'm too scared, and that's not something I really want to subject myself to. We talked about it because I watched Last Night in Soho recently, and I feel like that was right at the level of like thriller / horror
And then,
that
well,
I want to go to.
It's mostly thriller, and then right at the end, it's like, oh, by the way, it's actually a horror movie.
That's about the ceiling for me. I'm
Right.
like, I'm fine with that. More than this, probably not.
Is there a genre, like a subgenre of horror or a style or a movie specifically that you can think of other than that one that's maybe a little more classic or more mainstream?
I love The Shining.
Okay,
cool.
So that's you'll
Yeah.
hang out there.
Yes,
like,
all day.
that realm. Okay, cool. Good to know.
See, so I have this theory about like horror movies. It's that area of like,
This is my favorite episode
because
ever.
I absolutely I love horror movies and they never affect me. But my wife, on the other hand, she's like, I don't know how you watch it, and I'm like, oh,
Right.
because I know this wouldn't realistically happen. Like,
You can
but
suspend your disbelief for the movie, but you know that in reality,
it's the what if. I go, yeah, but
Right.
if that happened, that'd be crazy,
Yeah.
right? And I can go, cool, I can enjoy the story, right?
right?
But you
at
can
a
get the
distance.
parallel of it where you go, ooh, that might be a real thing, like stuff with
Right.
like within like a paranormal aspect. You're like, ooh, and then it gets weird, and then you're like, okay, you lost me. But
I wonder if it's almost kind of like a neurodivergent kind of thing of like being able to like separate that and then take these sort of micro doses of high intensity emotional expression, like through, you know what I mean? I think
so what
there's
you're saying
something
is,
to that.
Being neurodivergent, we're just like, I don't feel my feelings at all ever. So
Right,
you
yeah,
can just
yeah.
enjoy it. You're just
Yeah.
like, huh.
or
That's weird
this
that
is
it
how you
scares you.
feel your feelings. Like
Right.
you like you're
Yeah.
you're able to like hang out in that world, and that's how you access them. You're like,
Yeah.
this is
Well,
where I
because
hang out. and have
going
fun.
here's
around
my
with
thing
story, right?
is like I
Yeah,
have ADHD and pretty high anxiety, and I watch a horror movie a day throughout all of October. And I have to say, like, I do feel the most mentally healthy.
Like, it actually chills
by
you
the
out,
end of
like,
October.
balances you.
Yeah.
Do you think it's because it like validates your anxiety? You're like, yeah,
Maybe.
This is why I'm on edge all the time.
Yeah, or no, I think it's more of like, oh,
Look what happened
here's
to
like,
those guys.
like here's like a brief way to like feel really anxious, and then kind of get that out,
You
and
get
then
it
it's
out of
like
your
done,
system.
and then it's done.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm going to approach every like horror or thriller, like any sort of Halloween-esque content or spooky content. I'm gonna approach it that way and see
And
if
just be like,
maybe it's more accessible to me.
what is the director trying to make me feel? Like, go
Even
really that
pulpy
way.
stuff.
As
even
somebody's
pulpy
like
films.
getting their head blown off, it's like, what am I
Yeah.
supposed to feel in this moment?
But then there's also, Joe, there's also the aspect with you and I of being like the kind of film nerds that we are. That
yeah,
it's
you're like, how did
if
this
something,
get made?
Right. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like, oh man, that's like a really, like that was a really good transition. Or like I
Yeah,
really
like-
like,
yeah.
I really
and
like
it's
the
thing,
sound
the
design.
practical effects
Right.
in that movie
Yeah,
are just like
it's
unreal.
finding how they do it practically, but like being able to tell a true story, or not a true story, but just like a really good story in like a visual way. I'm just like, that is beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then my wife's like, "That's beautiful." I'm just sitting here at 180 BPM and just
Right. Yeah. Okay. So back to the Devil Wears Prada.
oh
a
yeah,
trying to get
band
us back
who
on track.
channeled all of what we're
Yes.
saying into an EP.
Yes.
yes,
right?
not a cash cow.
I don't
I
think
mean,
so.
maybe a
I
little.
think they
Can it be
were-
both? Can it be both?
I think
It
so.
can be both.
I
I'd
think
be like,
it can be. Yeah.
I want to make a
Yeah.
zombie album.
I still think it was before it was
And
too
make
much.
Yeah, it wasn't in
Yeah,
vogue
yeah.
It was at the
quite
right time. Yeah.
yet. So there's still some artistic integrity in there.
Yeah. So as previously mentioned, I just immediately fell in love with this album, and I was pretty out at it. The funny thing for me is like, so Dear Love, A Beautiful Discord. I love that album, and it is really shitty, right? Like the production is like
Pretty bad.
it's so
It's
bad,
not great.
and I love it, and I love Zombie EP. And this is kind of like the Patreon episode that we were talking about, kind of one album wonders. I honestly do not really care for the rest of Devil Wears Prada's discography. And I've tried, and I don't like a lot of the super, like, you can tell the drums are programmed, everything's super highly compressed kind of metal thing that they fall into. But Zombie EP is such a vibe, dude.
I
talk
really
about it.
like the zombie EP because it's that area of like, hey, you want to do a theme album of this, and these 5 tracks are gonna be like a zombie movie, but then like adding the weird stuff, just being like, let's add. It's just like soundbite central, and
Right.
like, what can we do to make this feel like a horror movie? Almost?
Immersive, yeah.
And I'm like, yes.
And I think
Like,
that's the thing for me. Yeah,
I feel like this this EP, if it could have been in the I feel like if it was like they made the album, and they're like, this could be a rock opera, because like almost lyrically you listen to it and you're like, this could have been on stage. Like
Yeah.
very
Well,
like
because like you can think of like AFI has the All Hallows Eve EP, right? Where it's like Halloween classic, but it's just songs. It's just regular music that people are like, this is a essential Halloween item. But like you could listen to it and be like, it sounds like just like regular music.
Right.
But
Yeah.
this is different because they have the Foley stuff. They've got the extra
yeah.
stuff weaving in and out. Like that's I think what sets this on another level.
Josh, TJ, and Joe, I want to hear context from y'all about the Zombie EP. I know Josh bought it.
Yeah,
Josh
I bought it.
Prada.
I got into Prada in like 2008 with Plagues, and then I was fully in with Roots Above and was still in with this, and I really loved Dead Throne when it came out. 818 was when they kind of started to, like in 2013, I was kind of like, kind of started to wane a little bit on them. And then I've listened to some of their more recent stuff, but there was like a couple years where I was just kind of like fell off with Prada. But this was like right in the middle of like maybe peak, not quite peak Prada season for me, but pretty close.
yeah.
Pretty close.
Hey, Josh, was this remind me? Is this right in between Branches Below and Dead Throne?
Yeah, with Roots Above is 09, this is 2010, and Dead Throne is 2011.
Okay, you can definitely hear that like nuance of Branches Below in this EP, and then Dead Throne is like they cut out all synth, all like that area, and they're like, we're just going hard.
We're
as
serious now.
fuck.
Yeah.
They're like, this is what we do now, and I'm like, I am here for it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's where I am with this EP. I got into Devil Wears Prada in their early ages. I guarantee you they were all teenagers when they were like their very first album, and then over time have seen them grow. I've gone to their 10-year for Dead Throne and like all this stuff. So like I am so excited to go through this because it's just such a fun little EP that you're just like, yeah, this is great. This is fun. It's just fun for like a metal band. I'm like, this, look at that. That's so cool.
Right. Yeah. TJ, what about you? I want to hear.
Yeah,
I know
meanwhile,
you're our
I'm-
least metal guy. So
Yeah. Meanwhile, I was like, I don't know, listening to Dawes and Sufjan Stevens and
Yeah, in 2010, what were you listening to?
like I was barely listening to Meridional from Norma Jean in 2010.
man, what a
like
record.
barely. And that record's great. Like but I just like had less. This was a season for me where I had less and less capacity for heavy music. And so
right.
Gosh, this was only a month and a half after Meridional too. What a summer.
Wow.
But it was
Yeah, and
it was also the same year as Contra by Vampire Weekend, Suburbs
Yeah.
by Arcade Fire.
Kylan gets it.
This Is Happening by LCD Sound System.
Thank
Tourist
you.
History by Two Door Cinema Club.
Yes,
Like-
yes, you understand. You understand.
King of
That's
the
the
Beach by
mode I was
Waves.
in.
Like, yeah.
I was in my core indie kid season. So I kind of, the Devil Wears Prada bus sort of missed me, and had plenty of friends, you guys included, who were fans of theirs. Kylan, obviously you were like a on the boat, off the boat kind of situation.
Just the zombie
but-
EP, man.
Yeah, but like I had a slew of friends who were like you, like with different albums of theirs, and then also who were like stalwart fans from first album to the end. But I never really got into them, so I have very little context other than just like, oh, this is the Devil Wears Prada. My friend is cranking this in their car while we ride to Wendy's through the drive-thru. Like that's my like association with this band, or like going to Whataburger at 2 a.m. for a honey butter chicken biscuit. Let's
so is this
turn
your
this way
first like is this your first like true like or intentional experience with this EP?
Yes, my first foray into
Into Devil Wears Prada in
critically
general, or
critically listening to any of their material. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I should say too, we're doing this all in one. So, should we give flop or bops, or should we just kind of roll into it?
We can say what we would have said. That's fine. It'd be quick.
All right. So, Stone Cold Bop.
Yeah.
This is
Prediction,
one
Kylan?
of this is one of the greatest meldings of different loves of my life together in one beautiful
Whoa.
package.
Makes
One
sense,
beautiful,
And I love,
gory,
I
bloody
love
package.
that you love it so much, but you're like, this is really the only thing, for the most part, I love by
That I
them.
love.
They did it so well here, but the rest of it, I
rest of
don't
it,
care
none of
about.
and take into account, I have no fucking clue what they're saying throughout the entire album
dog.
for the last 13 years.
That's so good. I love that. Easy bop for me. I would have said bop for sure.
Cool.
Yeah, from the beginning, I would say easy bop. You know, I when you were like, "Hey, you want to do this?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm excited. I'm giddy. I'm ready to dive into it." So yeah, I'm right there with you.
Hell yeah. TJ?
Giddy is such a good word, Joe. I love that.
Spooky giddy though. You know.
Spooky.
Have Halloween. Spooky.
Spitty? Could we call
Yeah,
it Spitty?
Spitty.
Yes, spitty.
Spitty. Oh, I feel spitty right now.
I feel so spitty.
There's a little
Spitty
Spitty
and
in my cauldron of spook over here, y'all. If you
Ooh.
want, I can dole you out some. A
Yes,
little for
please.
Kylan, a little for Joe. Josh, you
love
want
it.
some Spitty?
I don't know. That sounds a little.
Too scary for you?
There might be some zombie virus in there. I can't promise.
What about you,
No,
TJ?
okay. I was waiting on Josh's answer.
No,
I
I was
give
trying
him
to
some
think
Spitty.
of something. No, I'll see how the other guys react to it first, and then
Okay.
I'll see. I might
Yeah.
take a little bit.
We know Joe's infected, so
Yeah, so I can't really use him as a control. 'Cause
The jury's out
Who knows what's
on
happening with him right
Kylan.
now,
Who
biologically.
Too spooky.
I would have probably given this like an on the fence bear flop. I think that's probably what I would have said.
That makes sense. It's too
Like,
scary.
I'm
The whole
very
time I've
close.
been listening
It's
to
too scary
this,
for you.
I've been like, man,
It's
what is
not even
TJ
too scary.
thinking? What is TJ thinking?
Actually, it's not even
it's
too
not
scary.
scary.
It's just like
it's just so heavy.
it's just yeah, it's
Oh,
just
man.
not.
That's what I mean. Because, we talked about that on previous metal episodes, that just regular metal is sometimes
true.
too scary for you. So regular metal plus zombies is like, ooh.
But I like zombies.
But there's enough theatrics to this as well that might
That's true.
lure him in. So
Mhm. Yeah,
I
so
think
I'm a
where
little
he'll
on the
land.
fence.
I think it's so funny because Josh is like, I love metal music, hardcore music, and I will follow it till the end. But horror,
As a film genre,
shut up. I don't want it.
get it out of here.
Unless
No,
it's
thank
this.
you. No,
Don't
thank you,
trick me.
please.
it's really just if it's the jump scares. If you could show me a horror movie that you're like, this has zero jump scares, I'll be like, I'm down.
I got plenty, dude. I got plenty. I
Okay.
got a whole list for you. Okay.
The wedding
Also,
planner.
TJ, your wife just started following Church James now on Instagram. Right
Hot
now.
dog.
That's scary.
That is
That's
Right
scary.
now.
Okay.
Happy
we're gonna
Halloween,
take
guys.
we're gonna take
Happy
a quick break.
Halloween.
When we come back, we are going to spooky deep dive into Zombie EP by The Devil Wears Prada. I got to come up with other adjectives and verbs. Hey Jammers, interrupting the show here to talk about our favorite sponsor ever, CollideRecords.com. For those of you that may not know, or if it's your first time listening to us, CollideRecords.com has been the greatest sponsor ever. They have vinyl, CDs, all of your physical media needs that you might have. A lot of stuff that we actually cover on this show.
It's true. And you know what's even better is if you use our promo code. for
We
your
have a
first
promo code.
purchase, you can get what percentage off?
20% off.
20? 20! 20%.
That's wild.
Josh, what's that promo code? Hit him with it.
Promo code is Church Jams Now, all one word, to get 20% off your first order at Collide Records. And I would recommend just going and checking out their new releases tab to see what they've recently got in stock, or check out their pre-orders as well. They've always got some new cool stuff coming in as well. In addition to looking up all your old favorites of super hard to find CDs or very awesome precedents of vinyl. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
So
guaranteed
fill
you can
out that
find
back
cool stuff.
catalog, and do it
Exactly.
a little on the cheap.
It's the way to go. So we'll say that one more time. CollideRecords.com, promo code ChurchJamsNow for 20% off your first purchase.
And let's get back to the show.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed those ads as much as we enjoyed making them. But guys, we're here and we're creepy and we want brains. And by brains, I mean critical analysis of Zombie EP by Devil Wears Prada.
Great segue. So smooth. Not sweaty at all. Perfect.
Okay. So I will say, right before we dive into it, I'm going to lean pretty heavily on you guys for like music notes, like for the way we typically do the show. And what I'm going to contribute mostly is I have paired each of the 5 songs from this EP with a zombie movie that I feel fits the vibe.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
All right. And then I will briefly talk about each of those zombie movies. So in this spooky season, if you're looking for some scares beyond the auditory scares of Zombie EP by Devil Wears Prada and want some for your eyes as well, I have a few recommendations for zombie movies that I feel pair well with this EP.
That's great.
Without further ado, should we get right into it, guys?
Let's go.
Let's dive right in with track number 1. Escape.
This was the Devil Wears Prada's first release where they did not have funny song titles. Because they had that for their first 3
really?
records. And then with this, they got serious.
That's
They're
right.
just like one-word song titles. And then after this, they just have regular, serious, grown-up song titles.
So it was like a gateway drug into serious artwork.
Yep.
A zombie concept EP.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be taken seriously. Let's do an EP about zombies.
Yeah. Our last album had a song called Assistant to the Regional Manager. Maybe we don't do that this next record.
We're grown-ups now.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because this charted and they were like, whoa,
We
we
got
should take
something.
ourselves seriously now.
I do love the Foley work though. Like,
It's the best part of the record, dude. This is a perfect album opener.
yeah,
And the sound design
it's pretty cool.
on this, they do such a good job of just immersing you in this idea of a zombie movie.
Right.
Yeah, I put in my notes, I put soundbite central, and I'm here for it. Because it just like makes those parts hit so much harder.
Well, especially like I like how they have like the synth strings that hit on certain things, like the blimp, like it immediately I think pulls from like the horror of like a horror score or something like that, like of making you feel that way. It's like we're gonna borrow that as well, so you get that same feeling from having the strings like crescendo.
Yeah, it feels very Harry Manfredini, who did the score for all the Friday the 13th.
Oh yeah,
a bunch of other like
it is
classic
very Friday the 13th
horror movie kind of thing. Speaking of sound effects, the shotgun cocking
Yes.
and blowing into a breakdown. And
You
then,
couldn't do that anywhere else. You couldn't do it anywhere else.
although I don't understand why every band that has breakdowns doesn't do that, because it's the coolest fucking thing I have ever heard in my entire goddamn life. And then on the second one, there's a second shotgun blast, and you hear the shells like clink onto the floor. I'm just, it's the coolest thing. I just love it so much, and it gets me amped for just life. Like, I just want to like punch through a wall when I hear that. Like,
but
in a good way.
Like, it's not just the shotgun though. Like, it's like, you know, we all know this because we've listened to the record, but for anybody listening that hasn't, they set the stage with like this storm scene. There's like a rumbling thunder and rain kind of happening, and it really paints a picture like a cold open on a like horror movie, like a zombie film. And so, you know, not only that, but then at a certain point there's like the sounds of the horde. Like there's these kind of like growls and kind of rumbling mumbling, moaning, and then the shotgun comes in. So it's like the stage has been set for the shotgun to make sense contextually.
Yeah, it's not
not
just
just a
because it's
shotgun.
cool. Yeah.
Right.
Although
It
if they
belongs.
did it just because it's cool,
It'd be
I would
fine.
also
It'd
be
work.
fine with it.
It was
It would
pretty
still
cool.
be the coolest fucking thing I've ever
Yeah.
heard.
I like the plinky piano thing.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Around 118 was where I noted it. Do we think that's that plinky piano at 118? Do we think that's a MIDI, like a VST
Surely.
sound?
I think so.
'Cause-
Yeah,
It has to
I
be.
think
'cause
so
it
much of the
feels
heavy
a little
lifting
like that.
on bands that have this kind of sound is done by the producer.
Because that's unfortunately for Devil's Prada and for this EP, that was one moment of Foley work that I was like taken out a little bit. I was like, instead of seeing a steampunk zombie survivor bleeding from his biceps, sitting in a shadowy corner of a dive bar playing a cracked upright piano, like I want to see, instead of seeing that, I see a hipster producer in their
Right.
bedroom playing an Akai Mini,
Right.
like to make that little like
Yeah,
out
yeah.
of tune piano sound.
But I think that's what
that
they
was the
did.
one moment.
And
that
no,
was
it's
like an
James,
offender.
and he's got like the swooshy emo hair.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
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 He wears jeans with sandals. you know?
He's wearing
That guy.
Toms too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. That was the one moment that kind of took me out of it. But everything else, sound design wise, across the CP, I'll go ahead and say
Yeah.
was like,
Well,
perfect.
I
10 out
think
of
the
10.
MIDI piano. What I mean, that was a big thing on all the previous Devil Wears Prada things.
Yeah, they did like the Euro metal string synths
Yes.
on all their stuff.
Yeah.
So
And I think
Yeah.
it works largely. Like that was the one moment where I was like, I want this to be a real piano.
Just like a real, yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
Get a little bit of warmth in there.
yeah.
I will say, right at the end at 4:23, there's a synth line that they put right at the end there, right after the last line. I don't know if you can hear it, but
Oh yeah,
Oh
it's
yeah.
like a saw bass.
little saw.
yeah,
Yep.
and I'm like, ooh, that was, I didn't hear that, and I went, that was cool, that was cool.
Yeah.
I will say, like, lyrically, kind of through this whole EP, it is very. This is why it makes me think of a rock opera, because like if this was theater and like, it's like, but almost like that campy area of like lyrics. But I'm very curious if like some of these lyrics are lines from movies, like their mass numbers make up for slow speeds, as clumsy as these beasts may be. Like I'm like, is that a line from a movie? Because you know how like what was that As I Lay Dying. Arnold Schwarzenegger project he did,
Austrian Death Machine.
Austrian Death Machine, and like all his lyrics are just lines from Schwarzenegger movies. And now I'm like, is that a line? Is that a line from a movie?
I don't think so. I think it's just a general vibe. I think they're just vibing on the zombie tropes.
Yeah. I know that Mike, I read about an interview where he mentioned that he read World War Z and
The
what is it?
book
Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies.
Yeah.
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 And that was like kind of, and you mentioned Zombieland earlier, Josh, being an inspiration as well. So I feel like it is just kind of, he's got these subconscious like ideas kind of washing over him and inspiring some of the lyrical content. So and this will be a consistent theme for me with this EP, so I might as well go ahead and kind of show my hand a little bit. But I like the lyrical material, but I'm also like, I'm not quite bought in at this point on a narrative basis. Like if it's a concept EP and it's about zombies, I'm like, cool, who's the protagonist? Like, who are we fighting for? Who are we identifying with? Who are we hoping makes it? And even if they don't at the end, even if they die, right? Who are we sort of connecting to? There's no one at this point in the track one. And
Well,
that
that's-
to me is like a bit of a detractor personally. It's very macro, it's very vague, it's very generic. The lines are great. They land. So this is just a personal qualm that I have. I want to like find that person and like hook
because
into them.
typically a concept album is like it's a story. You're following a narrative or a character, stuff like that. This is like all the songs on here relate to the idea of a
Yes.
zombie apocalypse, but there isn't a story on most of the songs.
Right.
It's just like these are elements of zombies, and like it all fits into that world. But
Totally.
yeah, TJ, there's no story or
Right.
character you're introduced to.
Which
Yet.
totally leads me into my first zombie movie pairing
All right.
is 2007's Planet Terror by Robert Rodriguez.
Nice.
So going strictly on vibe, yeah, it's kind of a similar thing because Planet Terror is intentionally sort of an homage to B movies of the 70s and 80s. It's a lot of tropes. It's a lot of sort of surface level. This is kind of flat. Like, here's a girl that doesn't have a leg. Let's stick a machine gun on it.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like it's kind of gross. It like evokes a feeling, but it doesn't really have like much to say. But it's really fun.
Right.
Which was kind of the vibe I got from this song as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like setting us. It's creating a setting for us.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
but not doing much more.
right. It's more about tone than plot. Like
Right.
plot is
Yeah.
sort of non-essential, and
Right.
And the
you know.
tone is that gun cocking, right? That's what,
Right, yeah, exactly,
You're like,
exactly.
"All right, you got me back.
Nailed it,
You got
Joe.
me back."
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I think TJ and I think we read the same AP track by track interview where Mike talks about like the idea for this song is just like it's just running from zombies, and that's why this song is like nonstop, and it's just like the first initial stage of like zombies are breaking out, like you just have to run, panic, like that's all this song kind of is like thematically.
Right.
So it flows
Yeah.
into why there's not specifics or
Right.
like it's just
Which yeah, and that also kind of goes back to my zombie movie pairing. It's like just balls to the wall action.
Yep.
Right? It's just like from start to finish, just heavy
Mad Max
breathing,
Fury
just
Road.
yeah, just nonstop assault your senses of just insanity.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm here for it.
Yeah, and I'm here for it too sonically.
Right.
I love how brutal it starts out. Like I actually really enjoyed it. Like I kind of let it wash over me, and on a vibe level, I was feeling it. However, because I come to music with like a little bit of a, needing some emotional connection or intellectual connection, because that wasn't there, I was like, is this concept EP gonna be like, is the concept part gonna be strong enough? But on a sonic level, this song is great. It's a cool opener. It goes so hard. The drums are great. I love that departure at, I think it's like 2:36, where Jeremy has that high vocal line. It's like a 6/8 shift from the 4/4 throughout the rest of the song. It's a total like curveball. That hooked me. I was like, this is awesome. There's a blistering guitar line at 3:35. There's a lot to love about this song, especially as an opener to the EP.
Right.
So
Yeah.
vibe-wise, I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah, it's a tone setter. I now know which is going to be your favorite song, TJ.
Cool.
From what you have said so far.
Okay. I can't wait to see if you're right.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see.
Is
either.
this
I do
anybody else's favorite song?
No.
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 Okay.
I do want to say I do like. I have some specific lyrics I like. Oh, Joe, that was ghastly.
Hey,
Oh, there we go.
I told you I could be
Ghastly.
spooky.
You might
You
say it was
can. You
eerie.
can. Oh, it was. Lyrics I liked are: if your decisions include regret, then it's already too late. Which
Yeah.
that's a good
Yeah.
line. And then
That is a great line.
there's a proportion to be met between escape and defense. It's cool. Doesn't really roll off the tongue, but
Yeah.
I like it. You know.
It's an interesting idea, and it's one that like I'll have to chew on a little more to like extract any meaning from, to be honest. But it sounds really interesting. There's a proportion to be met between escape and defense.
Right.
Yeah.
Which it feels very much. We kind of talked about this on the Norma Jean episode too, of the kind of a lot of these metal dudes of this era kind of wrote lyrics more about how cool they sound and how to like prove that you know smart words than actually saying something.
Right.
But
Yes.
I think it totally works within the context of
Yeah.
of this EP.
And that little like bridge, like departure thing that I mentioned a second ago that was in 6/8. I like that line too. Try to contain every ounce of sorrow. Our hearts have no room for this. That feels like a good distillation of what this song is. It's like, you got any emotion, leave it on the cutting room floor. Like it doesn't belong here. You got to just
There's
run.
no time for
You
that.
got to run, yeah.
Yeah,
Gotta
to
escape.
survive.
That's the thing is like, you know, we talked about how this was like maybe potentially a cash grab, but if it was like, I think that's kind of secondary because I feel like they did just put a lot of thought into how this entire project came across.
Yeah.
Well, and the songs are good. It's like
Right.
they wouldn't
Yeah,
just like, we can make this and it'll be fine
Oh,
if
we
we just
could
did
do-
okay
right.
songs. Like, no, the songs are good. So
Yep. Sweet. Well, do we have anything else about Escape?
Nope, just a fun loving time in that song.
Sweet. All right,
said
let's
it,
move
Joe.
on.
nothing more fun than running from some zombies.
Dude, it was so fun.
True. Let's move on to track number 2, Anatomy.
Does this have the best intro on the record?
Fucking best
100%.
intro of all time,
Yeah.
dude. What are
I
you
think
talking
so.
about? This record.
Yeah,
This is
dude.
the best intro to. Why does every song not start with a chainsaw? Every song
Yeah,
should start with a
dude.
chainsaw.
I mean, it did paint a picture. I can just see the teeth of the chainsaw digging into zombie flesh just
Yeah.
before it flies,
Well, and, like-
careening into the air. The bits of bone arcing artfully over the surging, howling hordes.
Yeah, dude. You could say that chainsaw sound was spine chilling. You know what I'm saying? Insert spooky sound right now.
You could say that, Joe.
I see. Okay, I would say this song, they should have started the EP with this song. Like, you can imagine track 1, turn it on, and hear the chainsaw, and then that riff. Ooh.
Yeah.
It would have been
If
a
it
good way to
doesn't-
start it.
yeah. But I like thematically of like you start with running from the zombies first, and
Right.
then
Yeah.
you can get to this place because we'll get into a little bit of like it's talking about the anatomy of like what makes a zombie a zombie. What
Right.
Mike says. So I like that wouldn't be your first thing that you think of if a zombie apocalypse broke out. Your first thing is we got to get out. of here.
Survive, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that one has to start off the record, and it's
Now-
just like a pummeling assault that works as a great opener as well. And I do
Now-
want to say I mentioned the Showdown record came out the same day. That record starts off with like a motorcycle, and then they build a guitar riff off of the motorcycle. So I was like, it was
Nice.
weird
That's
that
kinda cool.
both of those released on the same day.
Right.
Yeah. Were they trading notes?
Yeah, they may have been.
I gotta say, a lot of the blast beats remind me of not only a chainsaw but a helicopter. And
Oh,
this
yes.
will become important
blades.
with my
Yeah.
With your-
I like
your
that.
with
choice.
my
I like
zombie
that.
movie pairing.
Yeah.
Helicopter.
Yeah, dude, it feels, and I feel like helicopters have a big place within later day sort of second and third wave zombie movies. Helicopters are a big part of 28 Weeks Later, which we talked about
Yeah,
previously,
yeah.
Indeed.
and a big part of the movie that I'll tell you guys in a little bit that I paired this with.
This song, it's probably my favorite one on this whole EP.
Hey.
Nice.
Like, it just hits hard, and it's so great. I will say lyrically, the line, there's a lot of lyrics in this album that made me giggle because I'm like, what? And this is why I think they were like Broadway. This is gonna be a
Yeah.
showstopper because you're like, you've never seen such gray skin freezing to the touch, and it was so good that they said it twice. So, and I can just hear like opera vibrato
Right.
happening with that.
Yeah,
and
well,
just,
and
like,
also on the
oh,
chorus. Like the close your
Yeah,
eyes.
it'd be so great.
But nothing changes.
And then you got people like interpretive
be a stage
dancing
play.
as zombies. It'd be great.
Yeah.
I would have a great time with this.
Yep.
Let's do it. All right, it's
Definitely.
gonna open up
Let's do
after
it. We're gonna write it.
after our Emery play on
Yeah,
Perfect.
that's right.
on Broadway. CJM Productions.
Yep. It's gonna kill. Box office smash.
Yeah, this is the first instance of those sort of Euro trash strings.
Yes. In fact,
in
the
synth lines.
synth line is really funny to me, and I like it, but it totally takes me out of the concept. It takes me from a zombie attack story and into like 3 a.m. drug-fueled Euro house dance party in a sweaty club in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are we? Wait,
Which-
are there
Would that
zombies
not
in
be
the
the
in the club?
scariest place to see, like, to have a zombie attack?
You're grooving
Yeah.
and you're feeling
Are
like
you saying-
really in the
Yeah,
flow.
TJ, we are all zombies now. If we go to the club,
Oh no!
want to come?
Oh yeah.
I think I've been bitten.
Come with
Bitte,
me, man.
bitte.
It's 3 a.m. and look at these zombies.
You've
Oh,
had
no.
too much coke,
Auf Wiedersehen.
or have you not
Like, I
had
just-
enough?
I like the idea
There's
of, like,
that's it. It's like a club. It's so exclusive. You have to be a zombie to get in. So you're like, you really want to get in the club, you got to be a
exclusive.
zombie.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's great.
that's so good.
But no, I do really dig the chorus, like melodically, the high vox, man. I'm here for the high vocals on this EP. They are so clean, so hooky. Like every single time Jeremy is doing that like high singing, I'm like, just hold me in your vocals, Jeremy.
Yeah.
It's
They're good.
dreamy. I love it. On the opposite side of that, I'm not a fan of like the heavier vocals across this EP.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, because
Do you feel like he's trying too hard?
a little bit, and also not enough somehow because
Hey,
so rhythmically,
what a
it-
weird area to be in.
yeah, it's strange, man. It's
what
like
a great,
try hard.
Not
what a
trying.
great skin area. to
gray
be in.
skin.
Now you're
Yeah.
trying too hard.
But
It's
somehow
like-
not enough.
It's what I realized in the experience of listening through to this EP is that a big part of like why I have trouble accessing like a lot of these harder albums and like metal stuff in general is the heavier vocals a lot of times feel that they're lacking an intentional cadence. It's like it's like a zombie
Right.
or maybe like a dog zombie or
Yeah.
a bear zombie or
Zombie bears.
yeah.
Well, yeah. No, I
Cocaine
get
bear.
that. I get that. Which honestly might, I don't know, I hadn't really articulated this, but might kind of play into my lack of connection with Devil Wears Prada's other stuff,
Mm.
but it feels like it specifically works within this work for me.
Because it fits the concept.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, why
Totally.
is every album not about zombies and shit? Like, then every metal album would be 10 out of 10, no notes.
Every
Hard
album needs
bop.
to be a concept album, but not like a full concept.
No,
album.
no.
Not
Just
a
like a
true
vague-
concept.
like
just like a vague
a vibe.
Vague
A
concept. yeah.
vibe,
concept. A vibe concept.
I think that's
There
why
you
I
go.
love this album. It's a concept
you-
album in vibe only.
If Vampire Weekend had, instead of coming out with Contra in 2010, Kylan, if Vampire Weekend had come out with a zombie
vampire,
album,
no, with a vampire album, I would be
well,
all
that'd be a
about
bit
that
of a
shit.
departure,
A
but
Dracula album, of course.
yeah, right.
I mean, it's right
Okay.
there in the name.
Who would
Yep,
who would
that's
have
true.
the Frankenstein album?
So
So you have zombie, vampire,
Frankenstein would be, I don't know, like David
Vampire
Bowie.
Weekend.
Yeah, Talking Heads maybe. Something
I would
like
just say Vampire Weekend just to be ironic with it.
Yeah. Vampire Weekend would
Totally.
They'd
ironically
be like,
have
this
Also
album's not
them.
about vampires.
Yeah.
This is about. This
We
is
did
about
vampires already.
Frankenstein's monster because it's not Frankenstein. It's Frankenstein.
Anyway, we went to Harvard.
Frankenstein.
Frankenstein.
I was showing my. I was talking to my wife about we were doing this tonight at the dinner table, and my son Keller heard zombies, and I was like, "Oh, do you want to hear this?" I was like, "Yeah." So I played him a little bit of this song.
What do you
and
think?
He said, "Funny, not cool."
That's great.
His exact words.
Well,
Oh, that's great.
the Willow June review is, this is mosh pit music. So,
Okay.
yeah.
I think she's right.
She's definitely right.
Well said.
Okay, you guys want to hear my zombie movie pairing for this song?
Please.
Yes.
Okay, a classic, 1985's Day of the Dead by George Romero.
Yes.
Specifically, there's a lot of military technology vibes within the song, and the helicopter is a
Right.
big part. The main character is a helicopter pilot. I almost said driver. Helicopter
So you
driver.
said the helicopter's the main character.
Yeah, so the main character is a helicopter.
That would actually make so much sense.
But the whole thing with that movie is like, it's a little more isolation. And the military and the government like attempting to understand zombies by doing like medical experiments and things and figuring out what makes a zombie work, which I feel like goes with the whole anatomy, like lyrically goes with the vibe of this. So, yeah, between helicopters and experiments, the Day of the Dead just seemed like a no-brainer, if you will.
Kylan, we should do a zombie movie, but it's from the perspective of a helicopter, like a Pixar movie. But he's like, oh no, what's more isolated than a helicopter?
But there's actually an arc, like there's like emotional growth.
Yeah.
So he's a helicopter
develops, but then
who's attempting to find survivors within a zombie apocalypse.
Then he realizes that the survivors were the zombies all along.
Right. But then all the zombies die, and this is actually a prequel to Cars.
Just wrap it into the
You just
Pixar
blew
universe.
my mind.
Done.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. All right,
Genius.
guys, we have anything else about anatomy?
I like the close your eyes, nothing changes imagery. That's a nice way to end the song, I think. It's very effective in that it is this kind of like cold, hard, realist look at the crumbling world around.
Oh, it's
It's effective, but it's super bleak.
That's
It's
another
like
connection
nihilistic.
to Day of the Dead, because 90% of that movie takes place in a bunker underground, and people start to go crazy because, like at this point, zombies have just taken over the world, and it's just like this small group that is just like trying to survive, and every day is just like kind of the same, and I like that.
Right.
I'm surprised you didn't call it Evil Dead because of the chainsaw.
Well, that's not really a zombie movie, though. And
True.
we can get into those distinctions.
That's a Necronomicon movie, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, fuck me, man.
But then that opens up the question of like, what is a zombie movie? Because
That's true.
Because the subgenre.
That's the answer. That's the question we're here to answer on
That's
this
a real
podcast
answer.
today.
On Church Jams now.
I'm sure she has now. What really makes a zombie movie? Yay or
Okay,
nay?
guys. Track number 3, Outnumbered.
Species are overwhelmed. We are outnumbered.
Do we know who's doing this vocal performance with the newscaster?
I don't.
Ooh, does it say in the
Okay.
notes?
I don't
Josh?
know. Did someone mention notes?
Oh, he's
Yep.
got it.
Let me
Those
just
liner
Speaking
notes,
of
buddy.
Foley work, here we go.
let me just pull this puppy out right here.
Dude, okay, so really pulling into this rock opera thing, I'm thinking this is where I think like costume stage transition.
Oh,
like
yeah.
we get right out.
Oh,
we
yeah,
get right
yeah.
out of
All the
Escape and
stage lights,
Anatomy,
all the stage
and
lights.
go down, and it starts, and you
Black
get
out,
flickers,
yeah.
and this is going
Yeah.
on.
Yep.
This is my favorite song, hands down, on this record.
Ooh, okay,
Kylan.
okay.
It might be the best song.
I don't know if Josh figured this out correctly or not, but this is also my favorite song.
Hell
Oh,
yeah.
I was wrong.
Oh, it's so good. Okay, fun fact. Wait, Josh, I want to know, did you find out who does the...
It's not listed.
Okay. I used to play this song specifically at Crooked Tree, the coffee shop, when I was closing. And there were, like, after we had, like, technically closed, if there were people hanging out in the coffee shop.
Oh, it's so good.
Because, like...
that news anchor moment is like just confusing enough.
Right, you started down kind of low, and then people had their
Right.
headphones on. They started to take their headphones off because they're like, wait, is this
They're
like
like,
a
some guy's
radio thing?
going
What's
on?
happening? And then it just assaults your ears.
You're saying it's the
Yes.
modern Orson Welles War of the Worlds.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Exactly.
Slash closing
We're
time.
getting
Yeah, it's
it
both of those.
out.
It's both of those at the same time. I love that guy.
Would you have anybody like when it would go off? They'd be like, "Huh," and then they would just vibe and not leave. Like you just like turn up, be like, "Okay,
For sure.
but we're closing."
And then
We're
they
closing.
became my best friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. You like this EP too? Great.
It was Joe.
Turns out it was just me hanging out
Yep.
on the stoop. 'Cause
Yep.
that's all I did at Crooked Cheese, hang out on the stoop.
Is this anyone
So-
else's favorite song?
Well, I said it is mine.
Oh, yeah, no, besides you.
Oh.
Josh or TJ. Or
Nope.
Josh or Joe, sorry.
Joe's already said anatomy.
Oh,
Mine was
that's right.
anatomy.
Anatomy.
Yeah.
Josh, it's not
I'm
yours?
the lone holdout, if you
Oh,
will.
wow.
Mm.
Ooh, the lone survivor. I got it. I see what's happening.
I didn't say it.
Mm-hmm. You didn't need to.
TJ, why is this your favorite song?
So it's my favorite because it's finally giving us something to hook into on a personal level. There are finally stakes. And what I mean by that is if no one else, for the last 2 tracks, this track and the 4th track that's coming up, there's no protagonist other than this news reporter
Right.
that we just heard from. If no one else, I can be like, oh, there's this character here that's trying to tell us about how horrible the situation is, and they're trying to share like how you can maybe survive. Don't hesitate to act. This is not a test. This is not a joke. Our species is overwhelmed. We're outnumbered. So like I'm starting to resonate finally with some kind of character, some kind of person that I can connect with, and I like that. I think the chorus is maybe one of the best on the EP. Sonically, melodically, and lyrically. It's super catchy. It's got a glimmer of positivity, which is maybe the one time throughout this album that we have like outright positivity.
Yeah.
Like you can find a post, you can find some shelter, some
With
security, some
ambitions
safety.
of beating the odds. Like
Right, exactly. It's huge, it's anthemic, it's heavy, grandiose. The music feels earned and appropriate because the lyrical content is finally like really substantial.
Right.
And they're lining up in a way that really like hits for me. The breakdown at 3:45 is massive and groovy. Mm-hmm. There's just a lot to love about this song. Why is it your favorite?
Basically a less articulate version of what you said.
Got it.
What you said, but like a little less.
It feels I couldn't quite put a finger on it, but it feels more earned on this song.
Yes,
and maybe
exactly.
because it's
Despite having no shotguns or chainsaws.
right. But you have that like classic zombie thing of like the news report kind of coming in to like set the tone.
And there's tension between
Which
the
feels
fact that-
perfect for halfway on the record,
Right.
I feel like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
It's like almost
Yeah.
like too little too late kind of.
Yeah.
But it's also got one of the only kind of like repeating parts because there's a lot of linear song structure on this, but this has that find your post, find your shelter thing that you can kind of hook into.
Hook it, exactly. Yep.
And and that's a
and,
big thing
and
for me.
that chorus provides some tension between itself and the rest of the song. The title being outnumbered, right? That's a scary premise. Like, oh no, like we're alone. And even the line that follows it up, in a sea of stinking rot, in a place where living humans are no longer the hunters, all the money in the world won't satisfy the enemy. Hunted. Yeah. So there's this tension, which I think is very strong. Like it presents a strong premise for a song where there's like a little bit of positivity and like hope, but there's also like, well, the reality is we're outnumbered, y'all, and we might not make it, but we're still gonna try. For
sure.
Yeah.
You have
That
to
is
try.
also like my favorite line in this whole song, which is all the money in the world won't satisfy the enemy, which is like thinking about the outnumbered, and it's like the playing field is now leveled no matter what stature the
So
does not
buy your way out.
That also leads perfectly into my horror or zombie movie pairing for this. For
go.
this song, I thought the best zombie movie to pair with Outnumbered is Zack Snyder's 2004 remake of Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
For a few reasons. One, I think the sort of newscast in the beginning is a really big part of the opening of the remake of Dawn of the Dead. Of like people not really paying attention, but you get a lot of exposition just from like a TV in the corner. It's just like talking about a newscast, finding your post, finding your shelter. That's like a big part of that movie is sort of posting up. Everyone posts up in the mall, and that also brings it to the sort of capitalism analogy in that movie of like, the whole thing. Romero's intention with the original was sort of like a satire about malls and how we can't find redemption within capitalism and like buying shit.
Yeah.
But the reason the Zack Snyder was kind of pushed over the top for this is because it's a lot more kind of high energy and it's a little gross, and it's like, whereas the original Dawn of the Dead is a little bit more of like a slow burn.
Right.
The Snyder remake is just balls to the wall. It's just like nonstop, like crazy cutting, just like crazy things happening. And that's kind of how I felt about this song too. So it's a good one. It's a good one.
Yeah, I definitely think it's probably like the best song on here, and it was released as the single, so I think they think so too. But yeah, I love the choruses. It's cool that they're alternating between Jeremy and Mike. And then the music is also alternating. When Jeremy's singing, it's full time. When Mike is singing, it's halftime,
Right.
which is cool, that dichotomy there. So there's just a lot of really cool stuff going on. I want to mention, I think it's the part that Joe mentioned, all the money in the world can't satisfy the enemy. And at that part, it just goes into like what I wrote is a filthy part at 2:38.
Yes.
And it's
Oh,
great.
it's so sludgy.
Just like,
it's so good.
I love it.
It's so good. It's so good. Spooky.
And again, it's so earned. Like
Right,
for me,
yeah.
there are emotional connections to what's happening here. I'm like, okay, we're outnumbered, but we're not going to give up. Like we are now the hunted. We know our place. We understand our sort of social location in this new paradigm.
Yep.
But we're going to like try to hang in there.
You know what's interesting is this is track 3 of 5, which is right smack dab in the middle of the story, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's very interesting that we hit outnumbered right in the middle. It's like, what are you gonna do? You gotta
Right.
post up.
Right.
Right. It's
Yeah,
a good-
the
it's a
dust
good
has
spot.
settled a little bit, and so we're like, okay, now we gotta like get a game plan.
But you
and
got to
try
fight
to-
going on either side. You know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
leading up to
And
it
at the
post.
end of this song too, there's that like, good chunk of like outro, and I
Right.
wrote creepy
Ooh.
outro is creepy.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is the return of the Cauldron of Spook. In
It-
this moment,
it
I'm bought
really
in
is. Yeah,
on the
dude.
concept, the sonic space, all of it. So I was locked in. I want to like take this moment to tell y'all like I was a metal boy. I was
I
like,
love it. I love it.
I was
You're
really
a
there.
Zombie
boy,
metal
you know?
boy.
yeah.
Spooky metal
It,
boy.
it hit. It worked. It locked in.
That's
I
awesome.
was swimming in the cauldron.
All right, guys, let's move on to track number 4, Revive. I love this with the filter on the guitar in the intro.
Oh yeah.
And going back to Foley work and sound design,
Oh yeah.
they've got the glass breaking and the zombies kind of coming
The
in.
zombie noise? Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Right at that moment is the rock opera, is the glass breaks and then the hands pop out and they just kind of they go in tune.
Yeah.
They're waving.
Yeah, they're just like, oh, no, we can.
Joe, you got to direct our
I am.
Zombie
our zombie
choreography.
play. Yeah.
I already am in my head. I got it, dude.
Yeah.
Don't even worry
I
about it.
love I love the way this EP is sequenced because like we've talked about like how the first 3 songs really work and then this song is like, okay, it's like finding a cure. Is there a cure? How do we stop this? Because like that's something that Mike was talking about, how every like zombie thing addresses that at some point of like, okay, how do we beat this? How do we either get rid of them or like turn them back or like how do we but I love some of the lyrics that they're like, the cure is a shotgun, the cure is whatever blunt instrument one can
Yes.
salvage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's like
some
it's
of
like,
my
hey,
favorite.
until we get a cure, this is what's gonna have to do
Right.
This is it, yeah.
to get us
Yeah.
through. But it seems it's like a perfect because you've escaped, you've already like assessed your enemy and like you've posted up, and then now you're thinking like, okay, now we can think of like what's the next steps, and that's perfectly where this song fits in. So I
Yeah.
love the sequencing of it all, even though it's not like concept like our characters have now moved to this, like you have to fill in those blanks a little bit more, but the idea of sequencing is really good.
Mm-hmm.
I like that the piano does like a reverse sound too.
Yeah.
Like they do the piano line and then reverse it.
Mm-hmm. It's like an up,
This part right here,
an ascending arpeggio, and then a
the
descending
at
reversed.
157.
with the
It's
with
so
the
spook-
operatic.
Yeah, I'm
vocal
like,
and the organ.
Ooh, that's so
Yes.
spooky, dude.
That is spooky.
Yeah. No, I wrote like that operatic singing is so haunting, and
Yeah.
it's like a perfect texture to place in this horrifying hellscape.
Yes.
It's like
For
because
sure.
where else are you gonna fit an operatic
Right.
and organ background?
But you have to. It's
Bed.
it's it's a callback to like classic.
It's
Right.
It's
Sort
yeah.
of
It's
zombie
it's a callback to that
horror
campy stuff.
vibes,
That's like,
yeah.
oh yeah,
Mhm.
this is the sounds we do,
Right.
and I love it. I'm here for it. I'm like, I get it now, and I'm like, that's super cool.
Mm-hmm.
Which guys, you guys are just setting me up for perfect transitions into my zombie movie pairings. The one for this one, it's not as tight, I would say, as the other pairings, but we're gonna go back to 1985 with Return of the Living Dead, written and directed by Dan O'Bannon, writer of Alien.
Oh, okay.
That's a really fun movie. That's like Josh, I would recommend this movie to you because it's really silly. It's got punk rock zombies.
Oh, heck yeah.
That's right. I saw this a long time ago.
Yeah. So it's the first instance in a movie of zombies specifically talking about wanting to eat brains.
Right.
It's really
Zombies
campy.
talk.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
And
campy.
and saying and they're all punk rock
Right.
zombies.
Yeah.
So like it's pretty fun, it's pretty loose, but it's very good. And this song seemed to pair nicely with it.
Nice.
Is there a cure in that movie, Kylan, or is the cure the shotgun?
The Cure is like a shovel, dude, and a guitar and like
Whoa.
just like any blunt
Cool.
instrument.
Power chord.
Any blunt
baby.
instrument.
There's nothing more
Emphasis
punk rock
on
than that.
instrument. Yeah. It's
Uh-huh.
fun. It's a really fun movie. So highly recommend that one.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, I do like their approach to it's a twist. It's a bare bones twist on the idea of a cure, right? This trope in zombie mythology. They decided like maybe there's not a cure, right? Maybe the cure is the shotgun or just fighting and trying to survive, trying to get through the next day. The chorus, it's crazy because it's so hooky, but I hate it thematically because it's so dark.
We can now recover.
Yeah, like
All is lost.
all is lost in the flood of the risen dead, but it's so effective. So like I'm not
Right.
saying it's a poor choice. I'm just sad about it.
Right.
Like I'm bopping along and I'm like, this is awesome. I'm so bummed out.
Which is exactly the feeling
It's so
you
bleak.
should
Totally.
get from a good
That's like
zombie
that's
movie.
like every zombie
Yes.
movie because they go, they just are trying to survive.
It's like,
and
we're getting overrun.
it's always like
we-
you're not gonna survive.
Yeah.
Right. But there's that moment of like a glimmer of hope that's or maybe not hope but like resilience in the face of this kind of like the human plight where we're kind of losing to the zombies, where
Right.
the singer says, "Let's go, my will is at God's hand, never within man's teeth." First of all, the use of the word "my," I think, again, is finally personalizing the story a little bit, which is cool. It's putting us in one person's head, which is cool. And then the protagonist is now focused and kind of resolute, trusting in something larger than himself
Right.
against this horde of, like,
Yeah.
you know.
There's always that moment in
undead.
every zombie movie where like one person sacrifices themselves.
Right.
And this is kind of like the internal monologue.
Yes.
that person.
Yes. Also, did Devil Wears Prada just couch a metaphor for late stage capitalism into a zombie concept EP from 2010 when they said always wanting more, never enough until this day and age where there's nothing left?
For sure. That's
I don't know,
makes it
but
so
here, Josh, you have the lyric book, right?
I do.
So pull it out.
What'd
So
you
they
like to
have
know?
like photos for each lyric because I was looking up the
Oh,
album
cool.
art and stuff like that, and it was from a photographer that was on tour with them a while, but he actually took all their like press stuff for this album. But this one, I'm like, why is it drugs? Why?
Drugs, baby.
Like the rest are zombie stuff. Like
Look at
it's
these
like,
drugs.
and then
That's
it's
the
like
cure, man. That's the
drugs.
cure.
What?
Yeah. I love that, Joe. I was actually going to talk about that. Did you read that, like, the concept art, that article that he posted about it? and
Oh yeah, it
everything?
was from his own blog.
Yeah. I found that too. I was going to mention that in this song, which is perfect.
Oh, hey, look at that.
His name is Adam Elmakias or whatever. But if you
Yeah.
Google zombie EP concept art, he goes through the whole process of like shooting all of it. And like, I found it, as someone who doesn't do any photography at all, it was wildly interesting and very cool. So yeah, just, and seeing like how you get to the process of like, oh, you took this shot and now it's like the album cover that
Yeah.
like thousands of people have in like their house and stuff like that. So it was really cool. I liked it. I'm glad you shouted it out, Joe.
Yeah, if you can find it, you can see all the other shots he took that might have been the thing, but then you can see it and be like, that's the one.
That's the one.
That 100% needs to be the one on the front.
Yeah.
Yep.
You can also see
Nice.
how he the like press of like, here's the band with a chainsaw and a bat with nails in it, and you're like, yeah, that is definitely 2010
Right.
metalcore right
love
there.
It's so
Yeah,
good.
no, it was good. I just want to also mention that I love how this like ends.
Yes.
And like I
Yes.
wanted to say, TJ, the last thing you hear of Jeremy's voice, it's fading out, but you hear him say "all is lost" is the last thing, which is goes
Yes.
back
Whoa.
TJ's bummer.
Mm-hmm.
But then the piano comes in to match the chorus melody, which is awesome.
Really nice.
And then it transitions into a lone survivor, it sounds like, fending off zombies with a shotgun. And
that transition is like really artful. Like it's gradual. It goes from like a heavy string synth into that vocal line you were talking about, into simple piano, into crickets, into the growling zombie horde, into the breathing and the sounds of the survivor and the shotgun. It really paints a picture. It's radio theater. For
it's
sure.
great.
You know?
Yeah.
Such a good
I
vibe.
will say in that whole like last Foley part, and then the shot goes off, and there's one growl that I'm like, that is a stock FX like sound effect
That you have found yourself. You've heard it before.
No, I wish I did, but you can definitely go like they're like, I just need like a growl, and it's like. And you're like, if somebody would have just like made a noise, or even just not have that at all, because the zombies don't make that guttural noise.
Right.
They just go.
It's somebody went to like a stock sounds website, and it was like HalloweenMonster.wave.
Yeah. Like I'm pretty
And they were like,
positive
"Oh,
Jeff
that'll do."
Sturgis like found it, and then he put it in there, and he was showing them the mixes, and he was like, and they were like, sweet.
Sure.
And that was it.
Sure. That's
Yeah.
fine.
I love that. All right, guys, there's only one more song. Here we go. Last track, Josh's favorite.
I didn't say anything.
Yeah, but it's the last one, so process of elimination, my dude.
Ooh, I'm the lone survivor here on This Be My Favorite Song.
Why is it your favorite song, man?
I just feel like it's the most different from the rest of these songs, because it's not just a sonic assault the whole time. There's space in here,
Which goes
and
along thematically.
True.
It's just like so much thought was put into
it
this whole
is,
thing.
yeah, and like it makes so much sense. I thought this was going to be your favorite, TJ, because this has the most narrative and like backstory of like this guy, and he lives on this farm, and his wife died, and he's now the only one here who lives outside of a small city. That he says, "Greetings from Extermination, Kansas."
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Death in the Midwest, which I love.
Yep.
That is great.
You love it. So all of my notes in this
Oh,
song
no.
specifically, lyrically, like I put a survivor on a farm, LOL, Extermination, Kansas, LOL, on the outskirts of a small city, LOL. Like it made me laugh because I was like,
Because it's so
how-
tropey.
he's like, how can I paint this picture? I'm the last one standing,
one. I
a
pissed in
survivor
bottles. Here
on
we
a
go.
farm. And then he's like, oh, my wife died like 2 years ago. And we're like,
So-
we haven't heard of the wife at all during this whole time.
Well, Joe, I'm gonna
What?
do you one better. We haven't heard of this guy at all, and that's my problem, Josh. That's why this isn't my favorite song. It's all about sequencing, buddy, and it's also about intentional songwriting structure. So if they had written about a farmer, just a vague farmer reference from a small town in Kansas in song 1 on this EP, if they had just dropped a little Easter egg, a small crumb for us to make us care about this guy on song 5, I would have loved it. I would have loved this song because it would have stuck the landing conceptually, thematically, on a narrative level. I do like this song. I actually do like it. I'm okay with the really hokey, tropey nature of it.
Right. Because at this point,
It's
you
just
either buy
too
in or
little, too
don't.
late.
Yeah.
yeah.
You heard a chainsaw start a guitar riff. You're
Yeah,
bought
and,
in.
and then this one, he's like, I'm out.
Well, I was just like, they didn't give me enough to care about this guy.
No,
it's too
I
little,
get
too
that
late.
for
It's
sure.
way late it's the end, and I'm like, this song is cool. The story is awesome. I'm okay with it being hokey. I'm okay with it being a little over the top. I don't mind that because it's a zombie EP, so that's fine. It fits. But
Is it
It's like,
also?
tell us about the guy first. Like, make us
Yes.
care about this guy.
Well,
But
hey,
isn't that every zombie movie? We just end up with these guys over here, and we always end up with some dude on a farm.
That's
Go-
true.
yeah,
He's
you're
like-
always
It's
on
almost
the
That's a
farm.
great
they're like-
point.
it's almost like a post-credit scene, like setting up a sequel.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
That's exactly how it feels. And I'm
You
like,
wanna
if,
be-
if there
you
is a
wanna-
sequel, then fine. Maybe I care a little bit. 'Cause I'll go
you-
watch the
does
sequel.
this come back in
Spoilers.
Zombie EP2?
I don't know.
I don't either. I haven't listened to it. That'd be cool if it did,
You'll
because then this feels
just
like
wait
it's
for
setting
part
up a-
2.
That would be cool.
Like and subscribe.
Okay, so what if this was written in the way of, we haven't heard of this guy because his wife died because she's patient 0 and he has her locked up in the barn.
In a barn?
Out back,
Totally. But tell us that.
waiting for a cure.
If they had added
exactly.
that,
If he
Joe,
wrote
if
it
they had
like
added
that,
that,
I would
yes.
care.
Yes,
I would
same.
care.
Same.
But because
You're
he's like, oh,
describing
my wife
season
died
2
2
of The
years
Walking
ago.
Dead.
Yeah.
This is what you're
Right.
doing.
So either couch something else in song 1 to make us care about it, or give us some retrospective or like retroactive reason to care in this song.
Yeah.
Tie
Like
it to the rest
he
of
ends
the
with,
thing.
I will never taste her lips again. I'll be like, I didn't even know she existed.
Yeah,
Also,
I didn't
she
even know
died
you
before all of this.
existed.
Stupid.
Like why does it matter?
I bet he liked
guys,
Trump too.
it's
You
my
know?
favorite
Yeah, it's
song,
Josh's
guys.
okay,
Sorry,
so-
Josh.
Oh, sorry, Josh.
Sorry,
So
Josh.
I have a question for
We
everybody.
love you, just not
to,
the song.
To kind of pivot a little bit. Have you guys been freaked out at all, or scared even, perhaps, that we've gone this far into an episode of Church Jams Now, and you haven't heard me bring up Sweet Sweet Bass? Is that really spooky to you guys?
It was a tad shuddersome.
Well,
it wasn't
let me-
spine-chilling yet.
Let me
but now
belay
that you
those
brought it up-
fears, gentlemen,
Oh,
and
good.
say this song totally has some sweet, sweet bass. And this goes to Josh's thing of it being a little different. Like, there are some moments where the bass isn't doing much. It's just put a big old fuzz pedal on that motherfucker.
Put a big
But-
muff on it.
Oh,
and go
yeah.
to town.
But it's a dun dun dun. Yeah, it's great. It's so good. This song
Yeah.
definitely does have a lot more space and some sweet, sweet bass.
Mm-hmm.
In
I
fact,
did have
bass and
Sweet
bass.
Sweet Bass in the chorus of Escape. But yeah, this one, Mike was saying that Chris, their guitarist, wrote the song on bass, which is different than how he normally writes stuff because he's a guitarist or whatever. But that's why there's so much bass in this song. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, this
There's so
is
much
this is really where the
bass
bass
and
like
space.
stood out to me.
Yeah, for sure.
It gets some
No.
moments to shine.
And yeah, and if I may redeem this song, I'll admit one thing that I like a lot of the lyrics on it, and everything you guys are saying are valid points. Like maybe could have introduced a little bit more. Maybe they could have structured it to where there's like one character in each song that you have someone to like kind of relate to or something like that. But there are a lot of lyrics that I do like. There's one I don't, where it's talking about no one's been living in this house since my wife died 2 years ago. Another occasion where when the undead came across some innocence. That line feels a little clunky to me.
Right.
There's a better way to say that, but I do like lines of like the whispering of the cornfields, because you're like literally the cornfields are whispering. Like that sounds terrifying.
That line is great.
The big crescendo of the song feels like the perfect closer for it, because like Jeremy comes in with this, will anything get better than this? And he's like, the way he's doing his vocals, like this is my favorite performance from him on here, because
super
it's like
good.
desperate and like he's getting a little gritty with it, and there's so much happening. A kind of beef. I love that what they're doing here, because there's like some cool like melodic guitar parts and some lines happening, and they only do that whenever things get really like melodic. I wish they kind of like put in other like little lead parts during some of the heavy parts, so there's more melody and some other things to latch onto. But because they save all that for when we get big and melodic and Jeremy's soaring, and we add the guitar parts here. So I wish they would have done that a little bit more, but I love how they do that on this song.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah,
Agreed.
I will say, after like spewing hot corn syrup, fake blood all over this, lyrically I'm not there.
Backtrack.
But this song slaps. Like I'm like you said,
No, it
Kylan.
is
You're
very
like,
cool.
I haven't known any of the words, but I still absolutely love it. But he like musically, I'm like, I mean, literally, I have a face here that is making a stank face for this whole song. But then I was like laughing at the lyrics because I was going after him. I was like, what? Where are we going with this?
Yeah. No, I agree.
but it was good.
Sonically, like this song is such a strong closer. It's so
I will say
different.
this is probably the first chorus that I'm like, I absolutely love this chorus.
Yes.
Because every once in a while when Jeremy comes in, I'm like, we didn't need that.
Really?
But this-
So you like
this
the heavier
chorus-
vocals, you don't like the higher vocals, Joe?
Yes, but this
Okay.
one I'm like,
It works.
that is
That's
awesome.
funny.
Yeah, it's
Joe,
the best one.
that's so funny because this was the song where I liked the heavy vocals. There's the moment at
interesting.
2:35 where there's like a snare roll. It's like the big moment. I am one of the last few standing, a survivor on a farm.
Oh no, farm.
Just along the outskirts of a small city.
I do
And
want
his cadence finally, for me, worked. I was like, this is great. So like the heavy cadence, like the kind of like almost, I don't know. It's like, it's not rap rock, but it's like, you know how like a lot of like heavy music, like metal, like kind of apes like hip hop or rap rock with it's like,
Oh yeah.
da, 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 da. It landed finally for me.
right.
This whole EP, I was like really struggling with the delivery of Mike's. I guess that's Mike. Is that Mike?
It is
Yeah.
Mike.
Mike's style or approach to like those heavy vocals.
Those
But
harsh vocals.
finally,
Sweet.
it just like worked, and I was like,
Yeah,
okay.
he does
I
have a
buy
different
it.
approach of like harsh vocals in how he does it, and you can
Right.
definitely hear it in a lot of the early stuff where he's like, I just don't know what I'm doing. This is what I do, and it became his thing, right? That's just kind of it makes him different than everybody.
Yeah, and he
But
owns
then
it.
then he does this on Zombie EP, and it's like, yes,
Right,
this would be for a zombie themed thing. It'd be
it
perfect.
totally clicked. Yeah,
Yeah.
I really liked it on this one. It like held it down. It gave it a feeling of like it being epic and really important, you know, as the closer.
That's true.
So I like that you liked Jeremy's vocals on this one, and then I liked
You
Mike's.
liked yeah.
on this
Yeah,
one.
flippity-doo-dah.
Full circle.
That's
Flippity
cool.
day.
Okay,
TJ's
you guys,
become the zombie.
You guys want to hear my last
Yes.
zombie movie pairing?
What is it?
So this one's also a little bit out of left field. Honorable mentions. I considered The Crazies, another George Romero, and then there was a
Ooh.
remake because they're set in the Midwest, right? Like because Kansas is such a big part of it. There's a super, super, super low budget, started as a web series on YouTube in 2013 called Dead Kansas that
Oh.
was eventually released as a feature-length film.
Because Extermination Kansas was already trademarked.
Right. But to get the vibe to match the vibe of this as closely as possible, I went with this one. I think would be a TJ recommendation. The 2018 movie "The Night Eats the World" by Dominique Rocher. Just look it up and just look at the art is great. It'll just like sell you immediately. But the whole thing, so it's an English language film, but it's set in France, and it's about a guy who has a crazy night partying and wakes up hungover the next day to like a zombie apocalypse. And it's one of those like he's basically just stuck in his apartment, so it's kind of like Castaway with zombies. Right? Like, and it's all mostly just like this dude trying to figure out what the fuck is going on and how to like live. And it's like, it's, you know, it's pretty artsy. It opens.
Which is the first third of 28 Days Later.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're saying this movie is basically, the whole movie is the first third of 28 Days Later.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it. All right. I love it.
Yeah. It's so good. But it's all about like just isolation and just like not knowing what's going on and being a lone survivor. And it's
Nice.
very, very, very good. Highly recommend it. And it pairs
love
nicely
it.
with this song.
Yeah, that lines up so well.
Are there any farms in that
There
movie,
are no
Kylan?
farms, unfortunately.
Ooh, I'm
He
gonna
never
have
goes to
deduct
the
some
French
points
countryside?
for that.
I'm out.
Well,
Missed opportunity.
that's guys.
There's some beautiful French countryside.
It's not
out
true
there.
Kansas unless there's like
I'm not blaming you. I'm saying the director should have created a scene where there
Yeah.
was like a
Well,
know,
that's why the
pastoral
Crazies.
scene.
That's why the Crazies was in the running because that's all very, very, very Midwest cornfields
Yes.
and barns and.
right.
I
rural.
mean, yeah. But I went more with the sort of lone survivor, isolationist aspect of
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Concept.
That's
Yeah.
good.
No, that fits.
I
Good,
can-
good
I can
choice.
dig it.
Good choice.
I love it.
Yeah, whatever.
I can't wait to watch it.
Honestly,
Gonna check
DJ,
it
I
out.
think you would really like it. It's very good.
Oh yeah. No, I'm gonna see it.
Okay, guys, we did it. We've completed the second ever CJN Spooktacular.
Spine chilling.
It's not that funny, guys. I don't know why everyone's laughing. Your extremely normal laughs. I'm trying to be serious here.
Apologies, Kylan.
Yeah. TJ, you sound totally normal.
Thank you. I'm trying to.
I'm glad TJ has finally dropped his podcast voice and is using his normal everyday
Yeah,
TJ
I know.
voice.
You're very
This is
welcome.
the TJ I know so well.
I'll never speak differently
I mean,
on
we've
this
been
show
privately
again.
texting about like what's the deal with his podcast voice? Like it's so weird and
Who's
unnatural.
he really fooling here?
Yeah.
I apologize for performing.
There we go.
I
Yeah,
will
and
stop.
this is how I finally know we're all comfortable. Is we
Yeah.
get to hear the real TJ.
How many
Yeah.
episodes did it take?
70.
What do you
70.
want for dinner?
Brains.
Pizza Hut? Or Domino's?
Okay, guys. So I want to hear final flopper bop verdicts for Zombie EP by The Devil Wears Prada. I'm just gonna get it out of the way. Like, yeah, the Stone Cold bop for me. I mean, this is the.
But I want to know from you, has your appreciation enhanced
Ooh,
knowing
good
like digging
question.
into the lyrics and stuff like that for the first time 13 years
Nah.
later?
Nah,
No?
nah.
Same.
That's
You
all I'm about
don't
to
need
say.
it.
At
It's
the
a
I don't
vibe.
need it.
level,
I don't
You
need
just
it.
It's
need
a vibe.
I just
Okay.
need, guys, I literally just hearing a chainsaw start a fucking metal song, and it's the greatest album I've ever heard.
I also feel like the fact that you were able to so easily slip into project mode, pairing zombie films with
Oh, yeah,
this
yeah.
EP,
Oh,
You're like, I got this.
makes it so clear that this is just like it's on the level with you. Always
Where-
has been,
where you're-
always will be.
Yeah. It's just total vibes, man.
Yeah.
It's like it's honestly a little fascinating to me that it took until 2010 for a metal band to be like,
We should do
well,
this.
what if we combine what we do sonically with the ambiance of like this classic horror movie subgenre?
Right.
It's
Yeah,
wild.
I get that.
It's
It is kinda
wild.
crazy.
Like honestly, if this had been done 30 years before by like Cannibal Corpse, which makes more sense, arguably,
Right.
I would have loved that. That would have been my
Which-
favorite metal album.
Let us put this out to the jammers out there. If y'all are listening now and you know of some kind of heavy album or EP that's out there that predates this one,
Aaron
that
Cooper's
did
guy
the
to
concept.
ask. We'll have to
That's
ask
true.
him.
Yeah. Anybody though, like if you're listening to this in 2037, say, and you're like, you know what?
Then what the fuck are you doing with your life?
Well, they're listening to our podcast, okay, Kylan? And they're like, you know what? In 1978, somebody made a zombie themed album, and it was pretty heavy, and they nailed it.
And it was
They
called
knocked it out
The
of the park.
Monster Mash.
There you go. See,
Yeah.
you never know. But yeah, it is crazy to think that in their subgenre of music, there was no one that had done this until
Right. I mean, because
came
there
along
is a lot of
nailed
horror
it.
imagery within metal.
right.
Yeah.
Just generally, those circles like overlap quite a bit. But the idea of taking the specific tropes and vibes
Right.
of a zombie movie and sort of just plopping them directly on top of kind of what you were already doing, like just
Yeah.
makes so much sense.
It's true.
Yeah,
Well,
it
I'm
works,
glad
it
they
works,
did it.
Me
It
too.
worked really well for like the time that it came out.
I want to hear from Josh.
Yes.
Flop or bop on Zombie EP.
This is going to be a big bop for me. And I will say digging into it has grown my appreciation and respect for it. Before it was just like, I enjoyed it and like the songs, I was pretty vibe with it. Like, this is fun. I like Prada. It's a fun EP. Digging into it for this episode has made me really appreciate it and like it more. And I really love like the bite-sized nature of it. Like so many bands do concept albums and a lot
Right.
of times they're like
Double
sprawling
albums
things
or something.
I love
yeah.
I love the idea of like, hey, we don't have to commit to doing 45 to 60 minutes of like music for this idea I had. Like, let's just do a 5-song, 20-minute thing. Like, more bands I think could and should do that because it's just fun and you don't have to like come up with 12 songs to support this
Right.
lofty concept
yeah.
idea. You're like, we just write
Just in and out.
3,
Yeah,
4,
yeah.
5 fun songs that we like about this idea, and boom, that's it.
Yeah, I'm into it. By the way, Joe sent us a picture of the mummies, and I know what we're going to be for Halloween if we're not going as Big
The three
Peter,
Peters.
the 3 Peters for Halloween.
You need to go on YouTube and watch them play live. It's really they're very theatrical. It's great. I
I
love
love
it.
that. I want to hear from Joe, and then I want to hear TJ. TJ, I'm the most interested because you came in the most blind. So, Joe, was this a flop or a bop for you, man?
Okay, so halfway through, I thought I was gonna flop this just because it's very dated, but it is very fun. It is like what is happening, and I think like just having a 5-track EP
Kind
that
of like
has
Josh
a
was saying,
theme.
like, just...
Yeah, I didn't listen to
Bite
anything
size.
Josh was saying because I was looking at pictures of mummies.
This is exactly...
So basically, you're reciting
saying-
what he said word for
Yeah,
word.
I'm saying exactly
so
what he
far.
says, just a little less. And so
Stop stealing my vibe on the show, man.
I'll do what I want. I don't pertain to your rules.
Yeah, no. Just the fact
But-
that it was so short. It was just like...
Yeah, but I think, I mean, okay, so the Devil Wears Prada doesn't even do this sound anymore, which kind of gives it its like standalone like uniqueness, because like they don't continue to do this anymore,
Right.
and so you listen to it, and like I think there's something to be valued within like in like creativity and being able to just go, just cause I wanted, let's do a zombie
Right.
album, like I
just rad as fuck.
I don't
no
give
other
a shit.
reason.
I want to do it, and I think there are parts that are. I'm like, this is just so fun. This makes me laugh, like lyrically, and like
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm here for sound bites and breakdowns. Like if there should be any more of those, and like bring that back.
Yeah.
Like 2023, bring back sound bites and
Put
music.
shotguns in every breakdown.
shotguns, chainsaws, forever.
Yeah.
Record your friends on your phone and have them say things
Oh my
like
God, they're
Pretend to be
outnumbered.
news
everywhere.
anchors.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
everywhere. Just have them say stuff like that.
Yeah. I'm
Have
here
your
for it.
friends run around in a field on a foggy morning and take pictures of them.
Cool. All
Clothes.
right.
Are we? Can we do that?
Oh wait, we did
Yeah,
that.
We did. I forgot.
Well, sir, baby.
No, sir.
All right, TJ. As a Devil Wears Prada,
Relative newbie.
yes. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
You're the
you
Anne
land?
Hathaway of
You
our
are
movie.
the Anne Hathaway. That's so funny. That is
You know what?
so funny.
I'll take that. That's a high compliment. Like I said, I think I would have. I was predicting like a kind of bear flop. I'll be honest, you guys. The anatomy of this EP, on its own, was kind of leading me to flop it, but
You didn't want to be outnumbered?
well, y'all quickly showed me through the amazing conversation that we've just had that I needed to escape that mode of thinking, and that I might not be, the lone survivor of not liking the Devil Wears Prada's EP, zombie EP.
Nice.
And you have, in fact, taken me from being one outnumbered flopper. You have revived me, you might say, and created in me
A Frankenstein.
a contextual Devil Wears Prada, vibe specific, but nevertheless, bop.
Sweet. I would call that a spooky bop.
Let's call it a spooky bop. Yeah,
Quadruple spooky bop.
because of the points that y'all all made, it Joe, I love that you bring up the fact that it's unique in its nature, like that they really deviated from this sound. That's context that I didn't have. You just kind of changed the dynamic for me a little bit. Josh, you made the great point that it's a shorter work, but it's also this big swing of a concept record, even if it's kind of generic, even if it's vague. And, I've obviously got my issues with it on that level, and narrative is a big deal for me. If somebody's going to try to call something a concept album and it's like a little hit or miss, I might have some issues. But like, yeah, also because, as Kylan said, chainsaws, the Foley work, there's like a scene that's being set with each song, as y'all all have talked about, as we've all enjoyed. The creepy horror pianos, like all of it throughout is just really fun. And this conversation has firmly landed it in a bop town for me.
Yes.
So we got that quad Halloween bop, y'all.
So
Spooky
my
bop.
question,
Now-
TJ, do you think you would find yourself at least just giving this like a cursory listen again in further Halloween seasons?
Yeah, man. If it's
do you
like,
think this could?
if I'm feeling kind of like heavy, and I want those, especially those Jeremy's like soaring vocals over some choruses, some weird funny synth lines. Like if I'm in the mood, it would be something I would go to. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Cool.
Just glass breaking in the middle of a song.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Rad as hell,
totally.
dude.
You're like, it's like, that's what I needed today.
Right.
Yep.
It's like
shotgun
3
shells on the ground.
like 3 in
Some
the
glass
afternoon. You can't go watch a horror movie.
Right.
You can just like pop this on in the car, man, and then you
Sure.
basically are.
Yeah.
That riff is so good too, by the way.
It's a very good
I
riff.
tell you, that's why I'm like, they should have started the EP with
I
it,
get that.
right? If it would have been like track 1, Anatomy, track 2, Outnumbered, and then track 3, Escape, which would have been that transition with the oh god they're everywhere. That would have been
I could see
perfect
that.
for
I
track
could
3.
see that
Yeah.
working.
Yeah.
And then
You
4 and
lose
5,
some
I'm
of the
like,
narrative,
sure,
but
leave it.
yeah.
Well, guess
Well-
what? You can't even understand them. So like, the narrative can be whatever you want it to be, man.
Doesn't matter.
True.
It's
At least like that
Regardless,
they
it's still
thought
the
about
most
it.
creepy EP
it is
about zombies out there.
That's
So-
true.
Lake
Except for
Erie.
Zombie 2 by Devil Wears Prada, which they
Yeah,
did,
part 2.
and I have not
Yep.
listened to.
Yeah.
Do you
We'll have
think
to
this
see.
is a very interesting? Because like right after this EP is Dead Throne. Do you think it's a Dead Throne is a continuation into this?
Sure.
From this?
I don't care.
You heard it here first, folks.
Sure, I don't care.
Dead Throne
Kylan.
is Zombie EP 2, full length.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I do want to say, as we're wrapping things up, if you guys have enjoyed this, we already mentioned our Halloween episode from last year covering A Boy Witch's Invitation from Carmen. Super fun. Definitely recommend that. But if you want specifically from Church Jams Now more zombie content, don't tell Kylan because he will turn this into a zombie podcast. But
Your Patreon just turns into straight.
I'm just gonna I will do a Patreon just about horror movies if there's
I'm
any
sure
interest.
you,
if
yeah,
there's
if
like
anyone is
a
Perfect.
modicum
let
of
Kylan know.
interest,
How
I'm
to
gonna
tell
do it.
a zombie movie from a non-zombie movie.
I'm gonna spin
Yes,
this off
but-
into Halloween Jams Now.
But I do want to specifically mention that on our, I can't remember what episode it was in the teens, our Some Kind of Zombie episode, TJ
wrote the best
did
zombie movie.
a wonderful short film treatment for Some Kind of Zombie that's set and synced with the music. So if you haven't listened to that episode, please go listen to at least that like 5-minute stint because it was a wonderful moment on this podcast.
Thanks for the shout out, Josh. I actually thought about that. I was like, we have covered zombie music
have.
material in the past. I wondered if that would come up, but thanks for the shout out.
Oh yeah, it was great.
Well, if you enjoyed this, we have more nonsense like it on our Patreon at patreon.com/churchjamsnowpodcast. Of course, follow us. Oh, Joe, do you want to plug anything? I'm sorry.
Nah.
You can say follow us
Happy Halloween!
Happy Halloween!
on social media at Church Jams Now everywhere. Of course, may all your favorite bones stay together and creep
And your
out.
unfavorite ones break apart.
Creep out.
Church
mon
Jams
frères.
Now.
Creep out, mon
Spooky
friends.
Church Jams Now.